Hi folks, Toad here with Visordown and welcome to our review of the 2021 Honda X-ADV. And I know what you're thinking. Is it a scooter? Is it an adventure bike? I don't know. I don't think it actually knows what it is. In fact, I definitely didn't know what it was before I've ridden it, but I think I've made up my mind. Let me tell you a little bit more about it very, very quickly. So this is 10,849 English pounds, which is quite a lot of money. If you don't look at the bike as the sum of its parts, there is a lot of motorcycle here, and I'm going to go through it in full, so don't worry. It is powered by the NC750 750cc parallel twin cylinder engine. For 2021 specifically, this bike has got a boosting power of 4 bhp, so we've got 47.7 bhp on tap, which is plenty, I can tell you that. It's got 51 pound-foot of torque, so it is supremely torquey, with torque sort of dolloped all over the rev range, right where you need it and always kind of there. They also do this as a 35 kilowatt or a 47.7 bhp A2 compliant machine as well, which is all good for those on the A2 license. And there have been a ton of upgrades for this year. So let's go through them in a bit more detail. I'm going to talk about the engine because it's an interesting unit, and like I said earlier, it's shared across this and the NC750. I'm going to have to be completely honest, I'm sorry Honda, the NC750 is a pretty dull motorcycle. It is sort of the workhorse of the Honda range in that it is just designed to take people from A to B, basically A being their home, B being where they work, with absolute minimal fuss, almost in an unmotorcycle-like way. That's not the case with this. They've retuned it, they've given it a higher red line, they've tweaked all of the DCT shifting schedules within the ECU of it, and it feels a lot livelier, it feels a lot peppier. It's got a really nice little raspy exhaust note as well, which is all good. So on that front, it is not an NC750 in some hiking boots. It is a totally different bike with a totally different character and a totally different vibe as well. While I'm talking about the engine, we've got a upgraded or updated ride-by-wire throttle for this machine, which links into the Honda selectable torque control, which is traction control to you and I, and it all works really, really well. It's typically Honda in that it just does exactly what it's supposed to do with minimal fuss or bother. The suspension, we've got rebound adjustment on there, and there is a rear shock absorber stuffed up underneath it with a mechanical preload adjuster on it as well. And that is one of the things that has really, really surprised me with this bike, is just how good the suspension is. It's really, really plush, but it's not soft or wallowy at all. And you can actually make progress on the road. You can really, really ride this thing and have a lot of fun with it, and it is responsive and it handles quite well. It doesn't handle at all like a big maxi scooter, which is kind of what you assume it's going to handle like when you look at the size and the shape and the size of the wheels and so on. It's actually quite an enjoyable bike to ride. You're never going to go chasing sports bikes down your favourite B road on it, but it brings a smile to your face, and it is just as much fun to ride it around town. Soaks up potholes beautifully, and then on a gorgeous day like this, if you wanted to take a trip out to some of the wonderful lanes that crisscross Thetford Forest, you can do it with exactly the same tyres, setup, wheels, everything, and actually it can ride off-road as well, which again is a really, really surprising thing. I said at the beginning of the video that I didn't really understand the Honda X-ADV. When they brought it out, I just thought it was a bit weird and a bit kooky, and why would anyone want a crossover maxi 750 scooter with kind of semi-knobbly tyres and an adventure vibe going on about it? And I kind of get it now. I mean, if you wanted a maxi scooter and if you weren't into using the clutch, and there are some people out there that love the DCT system. I mean, Honda have sold boatloads of them, literal boatloads of them, since its introduction. So there's obviously a big demand for it, but then again, there is a big demand for adventure bikes, and people want to stay dry when they're commuting around town and going to work and so on and so forth. So it kind of does all make sense in a weird, convoluted way. It is weird that there aren't many other big crossover sort of scooter commuter bikes out there, but I think if you've got the niche in the market and you make a bike that's good enough, it will succeed. I'm just going to go back into the equipment that the bike has got, because one of the standout features of it, and something that really, really makes me enjoy riding it, is the TFT dash on this thing. It is, I don't know if it's exactly the same dash as the one on the Africa Twin, but it is set out very much the same. You've got all your bike settings, so your torque control, ABS settings, your engine mode and everything else on the right hand side. You've got a nice big clear easy to read rev counter, and it is a really nicely laid out dash. Like the CBR 1000RR Fireblade that we rode in Qatar the other year, the dash is quite complex, and going through the riding modes and adjusting the settings and stuff, it can be a little bit convoluted. One thing that is frustrating is that you can't just turn off the traction control with a big button like on the Africa Twin. You have to go into the user mode, go to the traction control setting, reduce it, and then go back out. Problem is then, if you turn the bike off, it resets to you having the second level of intervention of traction control, which today, when we've been riding off road and we've been stopping and filming and getting off and getting on, has been a little bit of a ball ache, I have to say. I'm sure there's a reason behind it. It's probably some EU legislation and some hoops that Honda have got to jump through. So you've got standard riding mode, you've got a rain riding mode, you've got sport riding mode, and you've got gravel riding mode, and the user configurable one that I mentioned there as well. Standard is very kind of dull in a way. By the time you've gone 50 meters, you'll be in fourth gear doing 25 miles an hour, so it's not the most exciting of the modes out there. But that said, it does bring, and it does, you know, mean that you will get excellent fuel economy, upwards of sort of 75-80 miles per gallon from the thing, which isn't bad from a 750. You've obviously got rain, which softens the throttle mat, turns the traction control up. You've got sport, which is the most zingy of them all, and that ups the shifting schedules, so the DCT will hold onto the gears for longer, and it will kick down sooner as well if you crack the throttle open. And if you are riding on the road and you've got a sensible head on you like I haven't, it is where you'll spend most of your time because it brings the biggest smile to your face. You've also got a gravel riding mode. I'm sorry to say, I think it's pretty much redundant, because even in the gravel riding mode, which is supposed to be the one that lets you sort of have a little play, the traction control is still too intrusive for me. You get a tiny little bit of slip and then it cuts in and it scoops you up, which I don't think it needs to, because the suspension's so good and it's actually got fairly grippy tyres on it, especially in the dry like we've been riding on today. I just don't think you need that high level of intervention on there. One of the other top level best things about this bike is it is superbly comfortable. Surprisingly, it's a scooter. You've got the feet forward design. Yes, that's true. You've got loads of leg room. You're not laid back like you are on some big maxi scooter sort of things. You kind of got a bit more of an upright stance. You've got a bit more sort of control over the bars, and your elbows are a little bit more bent. And you do also have the inclusion of the adventure pegs with bear traps on there, so when you do go off road, you can stand up comfortably. You don't have to step on the running boards. The whole bike this year has been improved for people like me. It's been made narrower, the running boards are smaller, and the seat is more contoured as well, which means basically I can ride the 2021 model, and I couldn't with the old one because the step over was quite wide, and it just meant that I was not getting a foot on the floor safely, and on sandy surfaces and gravel like we've been riding on today, some of it wasn't good at all. So I'm really happy that Honda have done that, and they've managed to do it and update the styling and make it look much fresher, much cooler, and much more sleek in the process. So it's a big thumbs up on that front from me. What do we like about the Honda X-ADV? The dash is a standout feature. It's superb and very clear, very easy to read, and there's the levels of adjustability that you've got within there you do not get anywhere else in this class whatsoever. In fact, I think this is the only bike in this class, so yeah, that would be right. Another thing that I like is the suspension and the brakes are, I didn't mention the brakes, but the Nissan caliper setup on this is really good. The lever feel isn't amazing, it feels a bit spongy, but the power through the brakes is just absolutely incredible. And the rear brake, which is a scooter brake on the left-hand handlebar, has got loads of power as well, and you can really use that when you're riding around town just for fine control. What else do we like? Comfort is absolutely superb as well, as I just mentioned, and also I love the fact that you've got massive amounts of stowage space under the seat. So what don't we like about the X-ADV? So yeah, what we don't like about the X-ADV, I do find it frustrating that when you turn the traction control off in your user mode, it does reset. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I would prefer to have a big old button that you can just hit to turn all of the traction control off. That would be really helpful. So there we go, the £10,849 Honda X-ADV. It is really in a bit of a class of one at the moment. There isn't really anything else like it on the market, and I'm not sure that there ever will be. I do think that we don't quite understand. getting attacked by B. Can you go away, please? Go on. Please, go. It's a number plate, it's Italian. Go away. I do... attacked by B. So yeah, as I was saying, the X-ADV, I don't think we really understand it. They get them on the continent, they ride maxi scooters in their droves, and this is just an extension of the maxi scooter class. I think if it's one of these bikes that to really understand it and to really get to grips with it, you just have to ride it. And if you fancy a go, get yourself to a Honda dealer. They've got them on test at the moment. I've been Toad. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers, guys.